And hi guys, welcome to Get Your Reviews and to this revisiting of Bricky, every single faction explained. So guys, before 1 year ago when I first got introduced to Warhammer with custodes, I did a reaction live stream just like this one of Bricky part 1 and 2. But back then I wasn't so knowledgeable about Warhammer, so I made a tons of assumptions about what different things could mean, all of that, and it was very interesting. I did guess a lot, which was great. But now is interesting even more because I'm doing this with a ton of books read and going over the lore, characters, all of that. So how my commentary is going to be different compared to 1 year ago? Well, we shall see. And hi to everybody in the chat, guys. Let me check who is here tonight, and we're going to start right away because, as you know, this is very long, and my puppy doesn't have a lot of patience with me because he's still a baby. So I don't know how many times he's going to interrupt things. I hope not much. Just warning you, to let you know what could happen. So yeah, last time I didn't have I didn't have a puppy, but now I do. So there's that. So Jake, I haven't seen you in so long. Hi Ed, Zeriche, of course my Primarchs are here as well. Ivy, dear Clayton. Awesome guys. So as I said, this is going to be long. I skipped the first few minutes because we all know this is just the introduction. The video link is down below. Go support Bricky as always, as I always say. Watch the video properly if you haven't seen it. And without being said, yes, the return. Thank you, dear Ivy, dear Clayton. Let's start this like right now.
For this episode entirely, we are discussing the Imperium of Man, because that takes up a fat chunk of Warhammer lore.
I hope that you can hear him.
What is Warhammer 40,000? Well, the 40,000 starts off is the year 40,000. The 41st millennium, that's where it takes place, is in the year 40,000, 41,000 AD. You're already more knowledgeable. Let me read you a quote, first of many quotes.
Yeah, I'm a
in
professor.
This video. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 years, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing visibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim, dark future, there is only war.
Oh yes, so first of all, starting with this is super epic, one of the best things that I first learned about Warhammer. I mean, the way that this is written is just amazing. So still, 1 year later, I'm impressed with that.
There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of thirsting gods. Everything blows.
Yeah.
And it blows fucking hard. Warhammer is probably the most dark and depressing universes ever in fiction, or at least.
Yeah, by the way, what are the other two most dark and depressing universes ever that you encountered? Comment down below, guys. I really want to know. I made you a video about that. So comment like what else, I mean, which else universe besides Warhammer is dark and depressing. Let me know.
It's like top 3. Everything is so absurdly horrible, destructive, or overpowered that it all kind of ends up canceling itself out. It's like Dota. War rages across the galaxy. Interstellar travel is only possible due to sacrificing 1,000 souls a day to a rotting carcass of a man who you believe to be your god. Demonic gods and just demons tear open the fabric of reality on a whim. Other Xenos or even other humans end up killing each other in untold billions across the galaxy. It is a time of unending war, slaughter, and a bloodbath amongst everybody.
Yeah, because pretty much everybody is pulling the carpet towards their direction. That's an expression.
Planets are deemed unrecoverable and are completely destroyed on a whim. Everything sucks.
Yeah. Oh, Patrick had you too, Dark had you, Dune and Lovecraft. Lovecraft? This is so familiar, but I'm not, I mean, I know the title, but I never got into it. So I'm not sure what that is about. Is the one we live in? Is that the new show? I mean, there's a new show named just like that, so you're probably talking about that.
But that's like the charm of it. See, everything in
Actually,
Warhammer
yeah.
is evil, but being evil is kind of fun.
Okay, that's something that I don't agree with. Everything is evil. There's a lot of layers to that. Is not exactly the case. I mean, for instance, the loyalist space marines, they believe that they're fighting for something good, but that's not exactly the case when you put it to the, you know, through the many tests of what is moral, and then you come to whoever is leading them, then you reach whoever is I mean, if it's not the emperor and the Inquisition, whoever is the one that directs their actions, and you see that what they're doing is not exactly good. It cannot be considered like pure good. It's on the spectrum depending on the situation and the context, but the thing that is making the loyal Space Marines not inherently evil is the fact that they are truly believing that they are honorable, and they do have honor, they do have code, they do have moral code as well, depending on which chapter, of course, we're talking about, more or less, some chapters compared to others. So they do have honor, they do have a lot of qualities that are, um, synonymous with a true warrior. All of those things that are good qualities, but they are directed in a certain way to do harm, and they do some also necessary evil, like in the way that we saw in the last newest novel that I reviewed, the one with Rebute Gilliman, and what happened with the Emperor, and how some Marines killed people. So, the forces of Nurgle um, don't find them, you know. So basically, in these situations, it's a tough call, but they're doing evil, but it's for the greater good. So I won't say everybody are evil, because they're not consciously evil. They're not consciously intent, with an intent doing something bad. Whereas, chaos forces, they are doing something with that intent to oppose the emperor, and to do something evil and to kill without any remorse, honor, all of those good qualities that separate him from the loyalist Marines. I mean, you can make the difference that with the loyalist Marines, they do have them, and with the Chaos Marines, they do not have them. So they're like full on, no rules, just kill, slaughter, all those things. And then you have Tyranids, Gene Stealers. They're just killing everything, and they don't have any drop of moral to them. It's just annihilation, destruction, and the preservation of their own species at any cost. It doesn't matter at all. So yeah, I do not agree with that. Everything is evil. The I don't know why I cannot say this. Generalization. Sorry guys, just very hard for me for some reason at the moment. It's just not objective. That's what I want to say. Just not objective. You cannot put everybody under the same umbrella and in the same way, because they're just different, and the context is different, and the qualities that they carry are different. So yeah.
Like, humanity in its own right is a xenophobic, prejudice, and religious zealot group.
That is true. That is true. That is also true.
that kill each other just as much as they kill all of their enemies.
Yeah, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's why TTS has so many amazing parodies, like the one that they made food from humans yesterday that they covered. So, yeah, that's also true.
And they're like mid to high tier evil on the evil scale of Warhammer. Nobody is good. No matter who you are, everyone is at some flavor.
In the Tao, they're not exactly evil, but they're also not so there in terms of maturity, and they're a bit naive and just a young race. So yeah, and naive basically. So they're not good per se, but they do have some code. So they're not exactly murder mayhem freaks. They do have structure, they do develop, but that doesn't make them like super good. It just makes them less evil than some other races. But once again, they're not inherently evil, they're just trying to understand the universe and build their race, and their overall basically survival is depending on how they do. I mean, what direction they take. Everything is important. So you cannot say like the Tau are inherently evil. You can just say, well, they are trying to survive, and in a certain situation that they could do evil, and in other situations that they could do good. But they're definitely not tyrannids or chaos level or anything like that.
For some color of evil. Whoever you pick, you are going to be the bad guy. But that's the fun of it. Because being the bad guy is badass.
Once again, this is just not entirely true at all. Like, for instance, if I do pick the Tau and I play on the tabletop, I won't consider myself evil. I'm just picking the Tau and playing on the tabletop, and I'm going to fight with whoever is in front of me, because that's a battle with some kind of a context, let's say, that we made up on the spot. That is a bit ridiculous to discuss, because it doesn't carry that much weight in this instance.
Villains are cool. They look cool. They got cool outfits. They got cool weapons. They got cool armies. Villains.
Well, that guy in particular is a pretty badass who definitely doesn't believe that he's a villain. He's just fighting for the Imperium, and he does awesome things. So he's pretty much a hero, basically.
Are cool, man. And when everyone is a villain, everyone is pretty cool. That's what makes this so charming, is that everyone can be the bad guy. So let's start off talking about the main bad guy, quote unquote, the Imperium of Man.
How is that the main bad guy in 40k? The Imperium of Man, the main bad guy. I mean, what about the Tyranids? I mean, this is, obviously part one. So he is talking about part one, which are the human factions. Okay, but in the whole 40k, there's a lot worse things than the Imperium of Man. I mean, we are very bad, especially without the Emperor. Everybody is just writing stuff over his corpse and saying things like, well, do this, do that, everything is heresy, all the things that he hated and all the things that he was against. So there's that.
It's hair, whack. It's gear, whack.
The Imperium of Man is the main empire of the human race. All of humanity is under this one flag called the Imperium. And about 10,000 years ago, there was a man. He was the emperor of mankind,
There was a man just so funny.
10-foot tall psychic
Exactly.
demigod who led humanity across the stars to colonize tons and tons of worlds, create superhuman soldiers, and really bring humanity into a new age. This man, the Emperor of Mankind, was a psyker. And a psyker is like a magician of sorts. In the world of 40k, there is the warp, the immaterium.
Magician, that is probably the worst definition of what a psyker is. A magician, it's just ridiculous to me. It's more like a psychic that can also wield powers that you can see manifesting in the physical world. And it does have powers that you cannot see, but you can feel manifesting in the physical world. But that's very far away from magician.
kind of like hell, but sort of like a purgatory dimension of hell. And a psyker is someone who can take that power and manifest it through their mind to use it to do stuff.
Yeah, also the warp is not hell, literally. It did became very, very bad, you know, like hell in a way, but it was not inherently like hell. You know, hell is hell and always has been hell, and before hell was still hell. Whereas the warp was not bad, was not as hell, but now is pretty much like hell, just because of how things went with all the human emotions gathering there, manifesting in different ways. But is not the 40k equivalent of hell, because there's not exactly an equivalent in 40k of hell. You can say, well, because this is the closest thing, okay, it is like hell, but I still don't think it's an accurate analogy.
Like witchcraft stuff, magician stuff, spells, and lots of other things, but we don't want to get too into that. The Emperor, big boy psyker, top tier, A+, maybe even S. Now the Emperor created a bunch of sons. Yes, created a bunch of sons known as the Primarchs. He created 18 Primarchs to have them lead all of the different legions of humanity to the different stars and plans to help colonize and bring it out.
Yeah, and the other two Primarchs, as far as I understand from the interviews that I watched of Dan Edward, yeah, and some other info, even Games Workshop don't know about these. I mean, they didn't thought this through, so speculate about that really, I don't know. I mean, we can speculate about that, but that's a different topic. So definitely 18. Let's say 18, because the others are, you know, everyone's game. Everyone can think about what they are, what they would be, or what they could have been.
These Primarchs are basically like little versions of the Emperor. Not all of them are psychers, but a lot of them are very, very powerful, and they lead his special Space Marine legions. Then this big clusterfuck happened called the Horus heresy, where the Emperor's favorite son, the Primarch, Horus, ended up joining Chaos and leading 9 of the 18, half of his Primarchs directly to Earth to fight down the Emperor himself. Now, if you want to know what Chaos is, remember what I mentioned earlier, the warp, that Imperium, the hellish place? In there relies the 4 Chaos gods. Imagine like Satan and 3 other Satans. The warp being kind of evil, those Chaos gods, that's the reason.
Well, that's also not an accurate analogy, because Satan is, well, he has a lot of characteristics, goals, ways of acting that are very and uniquely only, you know, only something that he does, or only something that is a part of him, his being, his purpose, how he is in general as a character, let's call it that way, where these are all very different. It's basically like one very bad god that has split into several gods, and yeah, I talked about that a lot of times, but they're like low-level gods. Yeah, they're low-level gods. I mean, even Dan said that when he talked about 40k in general, and that interview that they covered. And I said that even from the beginning, because the way that they are described, it's obvious that they're low-level gods. They're not top-tier gods. They seem to be, you know, the ones that running the show now, because there's just no one to remove them from power, so to speak, yet. But that doesn't mean that they're high-level gods. They are written as high demons, but they're not written as gods, if you know what I mean.
And so those Chaos gods manipulated Horus, and then Horus helped manipulate all 8 other Primarchs to lead this giant coup directly on the Emperor on Earth. And they fucked up shit.
Yeah.
After this huge civil war, Horus died, but not before brutally wounding the Emperor. And right at the end of his life, they put the Emperor on this large golden throne on Earth, in which he is now alive, just barely, but slowly rotting away, powering something called the Astronomicon, so long as he stays alive, and is fed 1,000 people a day. The Astronomicon is like the North Star. If you want to do interstellar travel in 40k, you need to pass through that demonic warp I mentioned earlier. But how do you know where you're going? Well, the Emperor is there putting a nice little navigator right there. He helps navigate you to know where you're going. If you want to go from Earth to some crazy solar system across the way, you need to go through that warp, and then you need to know where you're going, go through there, and pop your way out. It's like doing nether travel in Minecraft, so you can shorten the distance between going to areas.
Yeah, but it's still pretty long distance, and they're still going to travel a lot of time, which compared to other universes is pretty shocking to me. I mean, it was when I first understood what that is and how it worked, because in other universes, you can just go through, like, let's say Star Wars, you just put up the light speed and you are in another, well, whatever, another planet system. It doesn't matter. Here it takes a lot more time. It's closer, of course, but it's not like a black hole, just go through it and come out at the other end in a second. Yeah, it's not like that.
So long as the Emperor is alive and being fed 1,000 people a day to stay alive, you can do that. The moment he dies, interstellar travel's gone for all of humanity. You're so boned. Now, since the Horus heresy 10,000 years ago, the Imperium has fallen from grace substantially. All technology has started to dwindle and die. There is now giant fundamental religious extremists that now believe the Emperor of Mankind was a deity, a true living god, which is probably the last thing the Emperor would have wanted to be remembered for. Yeah. So now you have this thing called the ecclesiarchy, which is this giant church in...
Although that's also how the Emperor wanted to be remembered or whatever. He didn't even know that he's gonna lose, or if he did, that's also something that is hinted at. Maybe this is all a part of his plan. But definitely the way that he did things, he contradicted himself a lot of times. So sometimes it seems like his grand plan was for everybody to think that he is a god, so he can gain a lot of power through the thoughts that untold billions are directing towards his persona, and that to make him ascend to godhood, which is also explained in that last book. And yeah, or, well, not or, but at the beginning it seemed like he wanted to not be a god. He emphasized that very, very strongly, but the irony is exactly that he became a god to people, despite his best efforts not to, not to become a god in the eyes of people. So the irony of that, but judging by his actions on several occasions, it does seem like he manipulated everyone and directed everyone to think that he is a god, while also telling them to not believe that he is a god. So he's like, look at me, I'm glowing, I'm doing this and that, it's obvious that I'm a god. Next thing he is like, oh, don't mind that I did this or that, or show this display of power, or this physical manifestation of me, so you can see me that way or this way. No, just ignore that, I'm actually not a god. So that is how this whole thing looks like. Okay, continuing.
Entirely devoted to spreading the good word of the Emperor. He is now the Holy Emperor God, the God Emperor of mankind, and all of the Imperium has taken up worshiping him to the fullest extent and killing anything that isn't humanity in his name.
Yeah, although that's actually against the Emperor's will, but you can't tell what his actual will is, and that is why we have, once again, text-to-speech device. What he would say if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device. Yeah, that's how this whole idea came from, or is based on, which is great.
The Imperium has this futuristic Gothic tone to it and a hefty religious zealotry to them. If you think anything against the Emperor, that's heresy and you deserve to die. That is called being a heretic. Heretics die in 40k. There is no such thing as freedom of religion. There is no...
Yeah, because the Inquisition said so. The most the people that have the biggest stick up their butts ever. Just checking your comments real quick, before there are like too many to read. Yeah, TTS is doing Am's work,
Such thing as freedom
absolutely.
of speech, so long as you are against the emperor. There is no such thing as any kind of tolerance. Everyone is a religious zealot. Some more than others, but no matter what, you're preaching that good word. So right now, everyone in humanity is trying to expand their empire across the stars. If you are a heretic, someone who doesn't believe in the emperor, you are deserving of death. If you believe in the chaos gods, you are also a heretic and you deserve death. If you are an alien race of any kind, you are a filthy Xenos and you deserve death as well. So long as the murder continues and humanity expands, the Imperium of Man is very, very happy. However, the largest fighting force of this Imperium is my personal favorite faction, and the first faction we will discuss, the Astra Militarum, or also known as the Imperial Guard.
Pretty shit now, man. You finished? That's it, man. Game over, man.
The Imperial Guard is the main fighting force of the Imperium, and in a world of horrifying creatures, galactic monstrosities, the literal demons themselves breaking through the fabric of time to kill you, the Imperial Guard are untold billions of regular men and women wearing modern day like flak armor with a
Yeah, and by the way, this guy here looks like The Rock, doesn't he?
laser rifle. This is the humble las gun, the main weapon of the Imperial Guard. It fires superheated plasma lasers at an extremely fast fire rate. It is reliable, never jams. It can blow off limbs, giant holes in concrete. It is overall.
And also, I saw an article somewhere on some site, I don't remember which, that a lasgun can actually pierce ceramite, but I haven't checked that. So if anybody of you know, comment please. Can a normal lasgun pierce the ceramite armor of the Astartes?
An extremely devastating weapon in modern day. It is one of the weakest in the 40k universe. Yeah, a laser rifle that never jams, it could blow off limbs, one of the weakest weapons. That's the world we're in right now. But who cares? Because the Imperial Guard has, in each battle, 500,000 of these men and women. 30,000 large armored tanks, 10,000 artillery batteries. The Imperial Guard wins through sheer numbers and firepower. They kind of have this World War I, World War II style aesthetic with legions of guardsmen as well as high company commanders and generals on the field along with them, and multiple kinds of troops. A normal Imperial Guard battle starts off with artillery, long lines of artillery, cracking the crust of the planet underneath the enemy's feet. And as this barrage continues, hundreds of thousands of guardsmen, a sea of guardsmen surges forward, firing and charging at everything possible while the planet rumbles as tanks roll up behind them. Gunships block out the sun and tanks block out the dirt with the steps and hoofprints of millions of guardsmen. It is through numbers and sheer sundering firepower.
Okay, that's just amazing explanation. I mean, I just love the painting of the picture here.
They are the first and last line of defense for the Imperium and make up a huge bulk of the battles. The Imperial Guard is also made up of tons of different kinds of regiments.
Oh, so yes, if you have a lot of them hitting the same spot. Are you sure, Dark? I mean, it makes sense from one hand, but I really have to check that out. 40k starting the Rock. You know, I think that he's gonna fit perfectly there, especially in this role too. Whatever role, a Primarch, perfect.
The Catachan jungle fighters live in a death world that's more hospitable than almost any firefight they'll ever get into. So they just have this steroid-looking, giant knife, Rambo Predator-looking sons of bitches,
Yeah,
where
Rambo.
nothing is anywhere near
Rambo
as scary
Predator.
as a simple knight on their home planet. You have the Valhallan Winter Soldiers who haven't felt their toes in 300 years, the Mordian Iron Guard who are more interested in making their shoes shine than actually fighting a battle, and then of course the big one, the Cadians from
Cadia.
Cadia. the biggest export of guardsmen in the entirety of the Imperium. You will fire your first gun at 5. You will disassemble and reassemble it at 10. You will have pounding artillery drills day in and day out at 15. And you'll fight your first swarm lord at 16. And if you mention Cadia, you will burst into an unrelenting amount of tears and sadness like I do daily. To quote, I have at my command an entire battle group of the Imperial Guard, 50 regiments including specialized drop troops, stealthers, mechanized formations, armored companies, combat engineers, and mobile artillery. Over 500,000 fighting men and 30,000 tanks and artillery pieces are mine to command. Emperor, show mercy to the fool that stands against me, for I shall not. The Imperial Guard are my personal favorite faction in 40k. They're the army I collect the most, the ones I enjoy playing the most, and the one I enjoy in the lore sense a lot. There's something about just a regular man with a laser rifle being told to charge the horrors of this universe and willingly doing so for his god emperor. It's just poetic. They actually represent the main Imperial Guard tactics pretty well. Large amounts of artillery that doesn't require a line of sight, lots of tanks, tons of infantry, drop troops, and gunships. Overall, they're pretty similar to how they sound, though a little bit expensive to collect, unfortunately. And they don't hit a lot. They have a bit of a bad aim, but you don't really care because you're just drowning them in shots. However, if you want more accurate fire and specialization, we can move on to talk about Space Marines. The Angels of Death are up next. Space Marines are genetically engineered super soldiers and superhumans. They're given extra organs, their skin tissue is toughened, their bones are stronger, they're taller than the average person. They're pretty massive people, and these are the specialized super soldiers that carry out a lot of the more specific tasks for the Imperium. And there's tons of legions of them. In fact, there's one per Primarch. Each Primarch, the Emperor's son, as I mentioned before, oversees their legion of Space Marines. The genetic upgrade they get is based on the genes of said Primarch.
And then you have the other chapters that come from the original chapters.
It's something called a gene seed. That's what brings them up to this like superhuman level. As stated, each Primarch has their own legion. Robot Girly Man has the Ultramarines.
What? The way he pronounced that,
Jagatai Khan has the White Scars. Rogel Dorn has the Imperial Fists. Corvus Corax has the Raven Guard. There's a whole bunch of other side sections that are also extremely interesting and have a little bit more of a twist on the average Space Marines, which we'll discuss in a bit. Humorously enough, I don't have a whole lot to say about Space Marines. They're superhumanly fast. In fact, it's been said that nothing that large should move that quick. These men in power armor moving at blazing fast speeds, their reflexes are faster, their skin is tougher. They are overall just extremely powerful soldiers. In fact, where they differ comes down to which Space Marine Legion we're talking about. For instance, the Ultramarines done by Robot Gilliman are the main blue boys, strong in almost every way, the jack of all trades kind of group that are a little bit too strong, and that's a lore problem, but the White Scars by Jagatai Khan are all about speed freaks, go fast. We're talking attack bikes, we're talking...
I still haven't seen that in animation, like Space Marine on bikes. That's gonna be awesome.
Land speeders, you want to go in quick, you want to hit them hard, you want them to be swarming around like buzzflies. Buzzsaws. With the speed of buzzsaws. Fuck you, Pale King. Salamanders love fire. Fire in the forge, fire in battle. Flamers, melta-guns, multi-meltas. Just so long as something can be burning, that's big. And they're also actually some of the nicest of the Space Marines. A lot of Space Marines have this kind of like holier than thou thing because of their genetic strength.
Well, look at the size difference. And yeah, the salamanders are a bit kinder.
However, the salamanders tend to put human lives above the lives of themselves, which is actually rather rare. They're also all black, but not like just regular black, like 2 a.m. line at a White Castle black. Like they have a charcoal, dark, ashy exterior and blazing red eyes. Apparently something about living on their home planet of Nocturne, which I don't know if that makes much sense, but who cares? This is like fantasy land anyway. Overall,
Yeah.
salamanders are actually one of my personal favorite legions because they're just really cool. They're fun to play as because of all their flamer weapons, and they have a nice, like, more heartwarming lore as opposed to being super evil like everyone else is. Oh my god, we're not even a quarter of the way through the Space Marine legions. Imperial fists believe in the power of the siege and defensive positions. Raven guards, master of stealth and sabotage while having bird helmets. Iron hands, masters of machines and vehicles while being really goddamn good at being sold on eBay after one nerf. Space wolves, Vikings and wolves and tons of wolves and axes, battle axes, fur everywhere. Space wolves, angry, big teeth, blood angels, the genetic defect to make them want to drink blood and go crazy, called the red thirst. They have cupid wings and stuff, which is a little bit strange, and they are all super gay for Sanguinius. Dark angels are old school knights and inner circle theme, and
I mean, if someone doesn't know 40k and you say that something is super, you know what he said, you're going to get totally the wrong impression because there's no, I mean, little to no sexual things in 40k, almost none. So there's that.
Are you a heretic?
Hey, Alex.
Me?
Hi, too.
No, never. Once in a blue moon, I know.
Death Watch, a fancy-pantsy anti-Xenos group that nobody plays because Death Watch, and they look cool though, but no one plays them. I don't know about Death Watch. They're there though. Black Templars, for the people who, if you haven't prayed at least 3 times a day, you're gonna start praying out that airlock. And I'm sure there's some other chapters I may have missed as well, like Crimson Fist and stuff. But
Oh, yeah.
those are the main ones right here. Here, quote from the Emperor himself. They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me. Like clay I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war I shall forge them. They shall be of iron will and steely sinew. In great armor I shall clad them, and with the mightiest weapons shall they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease, no sickness shall blight them. They shall have such tactics, strategies, and machines that no foe will best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are my defenders of humanity. They are my space marines, and they shall know no fear.
Yeah.
And on the tabletop, they fuck. Oh, they fuck hard. As of making this video, Space Marines are laughably strong. That might change at some point, but overall, Space Marines just have it's like a Swiss Army knife, a tool for anything you need, except it's like a gold-plated Swiss Army knife. It is extremely strong. If you are actually getting into the tabletop of Warhammer, Space Marines are a great start. Also, whatever gameplay style you have, whether you want to be sit back with long range and heavy weaponry, go fast and run in, or even just full melee, all of these options are totally there for you. Space Marines are super badass, but unfortunately, it's time we start praying to our new god, the 2011 Honda Civic.
So is it any wonder people are afraid of technology?
Technology!
I love Honda
The
Civic.
Adeptus Mechanicus.
I mean-
The Adeptus Mechanicus are a technophile cult on Mars. Now, these people are a little bit weird because they don't actually really believe in the Emperor of Mankind. And you might think, oh, whoa, Bricky, that sounds like some heresy. A little bit. They believe in the Emperor, they believe in his power, but they don't pray to him. They pray to something called the Omnissiah. And the Omnissiah is this kind of machine god that they believe permeates in all machines.
Yeah, but then the Emperor was like, hey guys, I'm actually the Omnissiah, so, you know, listen to me.
And if you think, well, wait a minute, they believe in a different god as well? That sounds like super heresy. Well, yes-ish, but they also make all your guns, and they make all your tanks,
Yeah, that's not exactly true, like I said.
and they make everything that you have, so you can't really tell them to fuck off?
Yeah, that's not the dynamic. That's not the dynamic, but okay.
Because you're not going to win nothing if you don't got stuff to shoot people with. See, their Omnissiah at least makes sense from their standpoint. They believe
I mean, they still have to, you know, during the Horus heresy, half of them were for the Emperor, half of them were for Horus, and there was a lot of basically contradiction between them because some of them believe that technology should be created and explored, so new technology can be created basically. And the emperor usually teaches them to be like, no, 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 no new information, work with what you have, don't venture out, don't look for any other new technology, just do what you know, and that's it. But some of them saw the flaw in that. They were like, well, why would we do that? This doesn't make any sense. There's not going to be any progress then. So the seeds of doubt that the emperor, planted, led to basically the deviation, the segregation of their whole planet. Let's say that. And well, it's like with the Primarchs, a lot of actions that the Emperor did, a lot of neglect here and there, and then all of a sudden you have all the potential seeds planted for a disaster. So a recipe for disaster was created everywhere in a lot of ways due to the Emperor's uh, due to the emperor's ways of doing things, and just lacking common sense here and there, and thinking that maybe everything's gonna be alright if he just opposes his will and leaves everything to its devices, and just oppose all the laws and be like, oh yeah, everybody's just going to listen to me, never question anything that I said. That should be done, but that was not the case. So yeah, let's just um, say that for a bit more clarity.
Believe it to be a deity that permeates through all machines.
And then, I forgot to say, then with the void dragon, the dragon on Mars that he defeated, and from there, he basically established himself as the Omnissiah, or made the mechanicus thing that he is. It's complicated, but yeah, it's basically what happened. The Dragon of Mars, yes, I know.
Your Honda Civic, your standard bolt
Come on, Honda Civic is great.
gun, your Dune Strider Walker, your giant mechs, your huge ships. The Omnissiah is present through all. And the only reason your stuff works is because the machine's spirit in it says it works. If you want your gun to work, your tank to run, you must pray to it. And I mean full stop. You need to start chanting in high Gothic. You need to burn incense. You need to sit on your knees and pray to that car. You need to rub oil on your robes, and you need to go ahomina, homina, 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 homina. Full stop. If you want your damn thing to work, if you want your gun to fire, you need to do that. They are very bizarre, and they actually have a bit of a point because it's obviously working. And
Really, guys, I know that this is very general explanation, but from this video you can't get an accurate representation of each and every fraction. For some, yeah, sure, not for the Mechanicus, because especially when I got through the Mechanicum novel, I was very impressed how Adeptus, for instance, she was extremely insightful, just smart, intelligent, and objective in her knowledge and how she did things. Just the whole book was very, very amazingly done in terms of how it represents the Mechanicum, how they think, and what happened in the Horus heresy. So they're a lot more intelligent than just some weirdos that replace body parts because they have cult to the machine and they don't like flesh and they think it's weak. It's not only about that. They're not so like closed-minded. Some of them are, some of them are not, but yeah, the point is, if you go through that novel and you see Ada Zept and how she thinks, she was just great. Yeah, and I was very, very impressed.
if you look at them, I don't know how that works. So they obviously know something about what they're doing. The most notable member of the Adeptus Mechanicus is Archmagos, Magos, whatever, Belisarius Call.
Oh yeah, he's the badass of them, and the smartest guy, the Einstein of everyone. Yeah, of course, guys. I mean, Bricky did a great effort, so not to take anything away from him, but that's why we're doing this commentary 1 year later. So, with what I have now in terms of all the knowledge that I gathered for 1 year, compared to when I had very little knowledge, but I assumed a lot of things, although correctly, it is still, it's still very interesting that now I can consciously understand a lot better what he's talking about and to see the holes here and there and just to comment on that, but that's not to take away anything from him because this video is just enormous amount of effort anyway. And for anyone that wants to get into 40k like I was on my way back then, it's a great introduction to the universe. And whatever it is or isn't, if you're really interested, you're going to find out what that is for yourself anyway.
Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Yeah, this is the group we're talking about. These are these weirdos. Here, the Omnissian Creed. The credo, Omnissiah. There is no truth in flesh, only betrayal. There is no strength in flesh, only weakness. There is no constancy in flesh, only decay. There is no certainty in flesh, but death. Flesh is weakness, flesh is death. The Omnissiah is the god of the machine.
Yeah, but this is very manipulative from the Omnissiah, because you can pretty much make an argument that even if something is metal, it still decays, still can be weak, it still cannot be certain because it does break. So it's not like it's immortal or something and not breakable at all. Yeah, it's more durable than human flesh a lot of times, but that doesn't mean that it's perfectly indestructible, because it's not, and they're not going to put the best and the strongest metal in their human augmentations. So this is a bit ridiculous, yeah, from this point of view.
Flesh, only betrayal. There is no strength in flesh, only weakness.
That's also not true. I mean, there is strength in flesh, and there is some things that flesh can do that machine cannot do in that same way, or communicate in terms of how you move your body. Well, you can argue then well, if it's like technology that does everything a lot better, oh, okay, fine. Fine, but it's just half truth. This is all half truth, and you do have to have that if you want to manipulate this whole planet to be so invested in their craft. And this way of thinking is necessary for them to be very into that world, so they can be whatever the emperor wants them to be, which are basically craftsmen that create the technology that the emperor needs. So this is obvious dogma that is planted into them, so they can believe it, eat it, and just live by it. So yeah.
There is no constancy in flesh, only decay. There is no certainty in flesh, but death. Flesh is weakness, flesh is death. The Omnissiah is the god of the machines, and if you wish to be whole, if you wish to be holy, if you wish to give unto him, you must saw down your limbs and remove your organs and replace them with mechanical parts, because that is what he wants, and that is how you will become enlightened. Hard technophiles.
Good words. I mean, good choice of words. That is what he wants.
Mixed with religious extremism. Adeptus mechanicus. Now, for their army side of things, they are with the Scutari. The Scutari operate with very bizarre weaponry and lots of different kinds of vehicles, tanks, and different people in between. They're very weird, but they have extremely wacky and enjoyable, and in fact quite effective, both in the real game and in the lore, weaponry and gear. Overall, as an army on the tabletop, they're very weird and have a whole bunch of different shenanigans, but if you like kind of that quirky, wacky techno thing, I'd give them a pickup. Hell, They're so paranoid. I gotta keep going. They're so paranoid and crazy. These Dune Striders you see right here, one guy was able to make them work. One guy, and he died. And they're so scared they'll never work again that they keep them on and they never turn them off, and they run around in a circle the whole time until they need them, and then they corral it and they go to battle. Yep. The Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, if you want to talk about faith, though,
But I haven't checked it, so I cannot say if that's true. I haven't checked that yet. That particular thing, I remember that it was pretty crazy, so I'm like, okay, what? But yeah, I haven't checked that.
Let's talk about the Sisters of Battle.
A simp has fallen for an ego
They at least are cool. I mean, everything is cool in a way, but Sisters of Battle are very unique.
The Sisters of Battle of the Adeptus Sororitas, if that's how I pronounce it correctly, is an all-female group of battle sisters going through the ecclesiarchy section of the Imperium. The ecclesiarchy is, of course, the church. This is, imagine a private army of the church, which is scary, and it is. The sisters are an extremely zealotous force, and they take this to a full extreme. They believe in three main things: faith, martyrdom, and fire. Through the bolter, the flamer, and the melta, the Sisters of Battle are extremely potent at taking out chaos and heretics. Mainly heretics, because as they are a fighting section of the ecclesiarchy church, that's the big thing they want to kill. Any form of heretic will face the Emperor's justice through those three main weapons: the bolter, the flamer, and the melta, and they will do so with extreme prejudice. Literally. They are the closest things we have to nuns in space. And I'm talking hardcore nuns. They carry holy fire on their backs. They have holy books and sigils all across their armor. Their main battle tank is a fucking pipe organ missile launcher. They have small babies that they have removed their brain capacity to make them little servant cherubs to fly around and give them ammunition and shit. They drop churches from low orbit as mini drop pods onto battles. They drop churches.
Okay, that's hilarious. Hilarious, but I haven't read about a particular battle in which that happened. But I have to. Because that's just hilarious. Especially the way that he says it.
Into battles, and they blare war hymns and holy music from their frigates in low atmosphere and shower holy water across the battlefield. These are the people you are dealing with, and they're fucking awesome. They can literally stave off demons on the tabletop because their faith is that strong. Remember the warp, the demons from the warp? Well, the warp also manifests in your mind. All of your emotions, negative and positive, go through the warp. It's the Imperium, the place of all things. So if you are that mentally fortified, that mentally strong, you can stave off horrifying demons. And all these girls, oh, not a crack in that mental armor. Now, as much as a meme as they are, and as much as their models look a lot like Ongo Gloglian, yeah, which I can't unsee anymore, I gotta say,
damn it.
I love their design.
Neither
I think
can
they're
I.
extremely cool. They're another army that I'm currently collecting. They just released a whole new line of figures very recently, and they look wonderful. Everything from Celestine, the living, literally undying saint, from the triumph of Saint Catherine, which is literally a funeral procession as a model, those organ tanks I mentioned earlier. This shit is the most over-the-top badassery in a lot of the Warhammer universe, and goddamn it is it over the top. But Sisters of Battle are so cool. While I'm a guardsman at heart, oh, this is such a cool faction. By Bolter Shell, Flamer Burst, and Melta Blast, the mutant, the heretic, and the traitor alike are cleansed of their sin of existence. So it has been for 5 millennia, so shall it be until the end of time. And speaking of burning demons.
Yes.
The Grey Knights are the first army I actually collected back in 7th edition. The Grey Knights are a super secretive and much more old school look at power armored knights, except they are all psychers. All of them have that crazy space magic magician shit. For every 100,000 guardsmen, there's one Grey Knight. For every 10,000 Sisters of Battle, there's one Grey Knight. For every 1,000 Space Marines, there's one Grey Knight. Grey Knights are the strongest of the strong, both in mental will and absolute just strength.
I'm not sure about their exact numbers actually. When he mentioned that, how many are they? That's an interesting question, but it seems like there are not a lot of them. I mean, the better the warriors, the warrior kind, like the custodes, the rarer and harder are they to create. Although the Grey Knights are Space Marines, they are, well, all psychers, like he said, and a lot more specialized. So there's that.
These are Space Marines that are all high-level psychers, all of them able to specifically do one goal, and that is kill demons. The Emperor believed that the demons of chaos were the #1 threat to the Imperium, and he probably is right. However, this group is entirely based on doing that through a myriad of tactics. Coming from the planet, or I guess the moon of Titan in the Sol system, the Grey Knights are thrown through extremely rigorous training and are as clear of mind and soul as they possibly can be. Since the demons of the warp are the warp and your mind projects to the warp, people can go insane very fast, especially lower level psychers. These Grey Knights need to be able to harness the warp in the presence of demons and stay perfectly sane. One of their characters, one of my favorite characters, is named Castellan Crow. He has a demon blade, the black blade of Mahamahama, and he has to have it on him because it tempts everyone nearby, constantly beckoning them. Use my power, use my strength, suck my penis.
Oh no.
Whatever the possibility. And so he has to keep it on him all the time as this thing whispers to him consistently, and he has to stave it off forever, being alone in his chambers or on the battlefield, because anyone who gets too close to it might be tempted a little too hard. He is that pure of heart and mind, and all the characters in the Grey Knights are basically like that. The only issue is that Grey Knights have a scorched earth policy, more ways than one. If they're fighting demons, demons corrupt and make people crazy. So if I'm a guardsman and I'm fighting demons and the Grey Knights arrive and they kill all the demons, I'm a risk. And so guess who's not making it out of there? On the tabletop, they're very strike fast, strike hard. They teleport all around the place. They are fast strike groups, small amounts of models because they're so dang strong. You only have so many characters, but with it, you get in there, you're very tough, very tanky, you hit really hard, and you try to bounce around the battlefield quickly, but you don't have numbers, and so every dead Grey Knight hits really damn hard. They're fun, though, if you like that kind of fast-striking kind of army. Oh, and also, Caldor Drago is a thing. We're not even going to get into Caldor Drago.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that is, oh my goodness gracious. I am the hammer. I am the mail about his fist. I am the spear in his hand. Though we are lost, I am the shield on his arm. I am the flight of his arrows. I am the hammer. I am the sword. I am the shield. I am a soldier at the battle at the end of time.
Yep.
Grey Knights are pretty hardcore. They are as holy as you can get for a Space Marine. If you like Space Marines and you want to, think they're holy enough, you want to be holier, Grey Knights.
Literally.
And if you want to be holier and big, let's talk Imperial Knights.
Oh boy.
Do you like gigantic walkers the size of homes or medium-sized buildings? Do you want to kill heretics, but you want to kill like 40 of them per turn? Do you want a gigantic old-school knight noble house style of walkers with giant chainsaw arms? Then you got Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights, it's not a whole lot to talk about them because they're just gigantic walkers, but they have this old school like house feel to them, like literally like they're houses.
Yeah.
Each Imperial Knight comes from a house, and each of them act in their own special way. These behemoth of walkers also destroy almost everything in their path, killing full swaths of squads in a couple shots, stepping on legions of troops. Like, these things do not mess around, and they look so cool. Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, actually, for that matter, don't have a whole lot to discuss. They're just super big, heavy walkers, and they look different depending on your house or chaos god you currently believe in. And overall, these things are just really cool if you want to murder everything in your path. They're the big, scary, big unit of Warhammer, and if you want to collect them, go to town. They make for a great painting project, too. Getting more back down to earth, let's talk something about a little bit different, a little more gold.
Oh, my
If
favorite.
guardsmen are regular soldiers, space marines are super soldiers, Grey Knights are super soldiers, the Adeptus custodes are super soldiers cubed. The Adeptus custodes are the third major army I own. I know, 3 armies. I know, I got carried away, okay? But that's all. I only have 3, okay?
They are awesome.
They are our final brand of space marines, but these ones are super special. Okay, if a guardsman is 6 foot, a space marine is 7 feet, a custodian is 8 feet. These are the giant defenders of Holy Terra, which is also Earth. Earth is Terra, Terra.
Yeah.
Themselves. These are the people that literally guard the Emperor's throne room, hence custodes. These boys protect the Emperor's throne room at all times and are literally like handcrafted people. They're not humans brought up by a gene seer or something. These are all handcrafted super soldiers. I think from a tube. These behemoth of men are like 8 feet, 8.5 feet tall, and functionally immortal. They stand still, spear in hand, for hundreds of years without the need to sleep and barely even the need to eat, watching over the throne room and every other area of Holy Terra for their entire purpose in life. And oh my lord, are they terrifying. These custodians put Space Marines to shame. If you liked your super soldiers, these are your super mega soldiers. One of these men can take on probably 3 Space Marines and most likely win. There are many different groups of custodians as well, like the Solar Watch, or there's also one of my personal favorite, the Aquilian Shield. The Aquilian Shield go out to seemingly unimportant individuals and protect them because they believe that they are going to be doing something very important in their lives. For instance, let's say a regular guardsman gets the protection of this giant 8.5 foot tall golden god because that guardsman will end up becoming a general one day.
Yeah, that's kind of funny actually.
The custodians work in mysterious ways and are almost always outnumbered, but never outmatched. These people are pretty horrifying, both on the tabletop as well as in the lore. There are very few of them, however, and there's actually an extremely small amount of them. But that's kind of the point. There's only so many of these people that can have war gear this strong, weapons this powerful, and training this good. And the custodians have all 3 of it. For 100
Yeah, and the process of making them is the hardest.
years, I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready. Always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years I did not but wait, yet had any threat appeared I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years I stood my watch, and as it ends I can tell you this: patience is a weapon. The custodians are the top dogs of the Imperium, and they hurt just that same way. Though I do want to discuss a little bit about the Sisters of Silence before we get out of here, because the Sisters of Silence I also have a few of, and they're really fun, but they don't get enough attention. These kind of bald plume ladies are a whole group of pariahs, or also known as blanks. We'll be referring to them as blanks from now on. So as every mind is somewhat connected to the warp, these blanks are a genetic mutation that has it suppressed heavily. Because of that mind suppression, normal people feel this weird, like, uncomfortable nature when around them. When a Sister of Silence walks past them, you feel ill. You feel just uncomfortable and strange. So most of them don't actually live past childhood, because once they are birthed, they're, well, you know, killed or something at a very young age, because they just emit a horrifying aura. These ladies, however, are guardians of the throne as well for more psychic threats. See, none of the custodians are psychers, so they have a difficult time dealing with major demons and other kinds of psychic phenomena. These sisters are extremely specialized in it, all of them taking a vow of silence as they don't speak, hence the term Sisters of Silence, but they communicate through hand gestures and things of that nature. But if there's a demon issue, if there's any kind of warp-based problem, the sisters are extremely adept at dealing with them, thanks to their blank gene. They normally work a lot of time with the custodians because they have to deal with both kinds of threats, but they're not represented that way on the tabletop. In fact, they only have like one real model for them, which is very unfortunate. I hope they'll get some like news soon, because I think they should really be working together as it is that way in the lore, but hopefully we'll get there soon. But if we're talking about blanks, let's talk assassins.
Oh boy. My puppy is starting to lose patience.
It's been a long video. We're about to round it out. We got this and one more human thing, and then we're done. The assassins, though, the Officio Assassinorum, oh boy, these people are deadly. Yeah, they're called assassins. They should be.
I'm here, just one sec, guys.
Man, these people will mess you up. So these are from the Officio Assassinorum, a very special organization, and they are handpicked by the Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum from the, what was it called? Schola Progenium. It's basically an orphan school. Your parents got murdered by demons or something, you get sent to this and you get trained to be whatever. Tempestus drop troop, an inquisitor maybe even. Maybe you get a blank gene and you get thrown into the Sisters of Silence, or sometimes you just disappear. When you are taken, however, you go to one of 4 temples, because the Assassinorum works in the temple style of things. These temples are the Vindicare, Caluxus, Calidus, and Eversor temples. Let's start with the Vindicare. I'm far away. I've been sitting here for 3 weeks. Poof! The Vindicare temple is the main sniper-based temple. Gigantic sniper rifles for all these assassins. Their whole point is to be able to be in a spot and sit there, eye and scope, for weeks, waiting for their perfect target, taking people out from literal miles away after extremely long time periods. The Vindicare temple is about precise, perfect aim. There have been reports of Vindicares being able to single out particular body parts from over 2-3 miles away. Temples in the head, the jugular, for instance, and been sitting there after weeks. And when they're ready, take that shot, time is done, packs them up. The Calidus temple, however, is a lot more about shape-shifting and deviant art. It's mostly a female-based one, or at least it seems to be, and this allows a lot of body augmentation for certain individuals to be able to kind of transmorph themselves and infiltrate areas that are problems. These assassins will end up taking missions that take them years, 2-3 years, to infiltrate a heretical group and slowly work their way up, just to get enough time to put a bullet into the main target's head and then escape unharmed, or become the main target and sabotage it from within. These are all completely about deception, mind tricks, polymorphing, and everything in between, and lots of drawings. Lots of drawings. The Eversor Temple, just kind of disturbing one. The Eversor Temple is about when you don't want anything to come back alive, friend or foe. You want it all dead. An Eversor is psychogenically conditioned with just psychotherapy and psychological torture to only feel violence, hatred, and anger. It does the Clockwork Orange style of thing of just making you forced to watch never-ending pain and misery and psycho conditioning, I guess is the term. And then they pump you full of tons of psychedelic drugs and they cryo-freeze you. And then they drop you in an area where they just want to make sure everything is dead. And then you defrost, full of just all this insane, mind-boggling psychotherapy and psychedelic drugs, and you just go to town.
I'm just imagining
if you don't care if anyone comes back alive. You're like, all right, lost cause, send them in. Finally, there's the most bizarre temple, the Caluxus Temple. The Caluxus assassins are feared even among the other temples. So that blank gene, the people will go to the Caluxus Temple with this as well. And this is where they can harness that to be massively anti-psyker, or even just anti-regular people. They are seen with extreme fear and distrust among many, many people. They are described by the Eldar, by quote, as being pure evil. Imagine that uncomfortable feeling from that blank gene I mentioned, and then imagine them being taught and given equipment to amplify it by 100. If normally regular people feel uncomfortable, now they are basically akin to being a siren wailing directly in your ear. And if you're a psyker, oh no, the sheer presence of a Custodes assassin is enough for you to tear your skin off. You will rather gouge your eyes out and rip your nails off than even being near this person. The Custodes assassin is when you want psychers to literally lose their minds, and they will go on their knees and ask you to gun them down because it is a suitable choice over being anywhere near you. The motto of that temple is, "That which is unknown and unseen commands the greatest fear." Now, for the tabletop, assassins aren't that special. You can call them in no matter what Imperium faction you are, and they do a lot of work for themselves, but at the same time, they're very specialized and require a lot of finesse. And they work the way you generally want them to, though. You want to cause some distortion and weird stuff, you take a custodes. You want to just murder swaths of infantry and then blow up Eversor. You want to kill that one guy, Vindicare, and if you have a lot of psychers, Custodes. It's a nice little, like, jack of all trades if you have a specific thing you want to kill. And you get to choose which is really fun. But now, let's talk about the last human faction. We can round this video out before we do part 2. The Inquisition.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot to talk about with them.
On the subject of heresy!
Oh boy. Where do I even begin with the Inquisition? Take every secret police you can think of. The KGB, the Gestapo, the CIA, FBI, any of these kinds of people. And then mark it up by about 10 and give them the most power in the entire Imperium. No, you know what? How
And
about
put
this?
some
This
sticks
right
up
here.
their asses.
It's not just a quote. This is the Imperial motto. The motto of the Inquisition. I apologize for my bad pronunciation. Innocentia nihil probat. Innocence proves nothing.
That's
The
stupid.
most powerful organization
That's just
in
dumb.
the Imperium, the secret police, their #1 motto is innocence proves nothing.
And thank
the
you,
Inquisition
everyone.
goes around
There are no
like the secret
principles.
police or like detectives to find issues in the Imperium. And they have different ordos depending on which one we're talking about. The Ordo Hereticus, the Ordo Xenos, the Ordo Malleus, for instance, and a whole bunch of other ones. Hereticus is obvious, they deal with heretics. Xenos tries to find alien threats, and Malleus is demons. They all have different specializations in what they're trying to go for as this Inquisitor. And that's what they're called, Inquisitors. Each of them, as an Inquisitor, has their own free reign to do as they wish. They may have a ship and a crew, and they go out to find problems and interrogate people a lot. They are above the law in every department over Space Marines. Now, the Space Marines might argue against them and stuff, and there might be a lot of blowback, but technically they are above them as Inquisitors. They are looking to investigate and figure out coups and cults and demonic incursions and possible Xenos issues like gene stealers or a new threat coming into an area. They're about learning that stuff and actually doing detective work. And memes aside, they're pretty good at it. The Inquisition having all of this power does make them a little bit power hungry and frantic sometimes. And yes, it is still a bad thing, but most of them are pretty good at their job. And they spend a lot of time being very diligent to make sure that all of these leads they follow are proper and correct. They're basically space detectives with just enormous power and sometimes a bit of a power complex. And we haven't even talked about Exterminatus yet. Exterminatus is deeming a planet unfit to be saved. I deem that this planet is demon infested, and taking it back will cost too many resources and is not worth it. I have now committed Exterminatus on this planet. I will now sign the death warrant of an entire Imperium planet, as it is unfit to take and better to be destroyed then allow the enemy to hold it. This can mean saturation bombardment. This can mean cracking the planet's core and breaking it apart. Doesn't matter. Render this planet inhospitable to all life. Yes, the innocents proves nothing people are the only people who can choose this planet must die in its entirety. Yeah, you're playing the villain. Now it is memed a lot, but most Inquisitors are very rare to do Exterminatus. Exterminatus is a very crazy thing.
Well, what about if there's like neighbor planets or, well, just planets that are nearby? I mean, enough nearby that if you destroy one planet, the others are also going to be affected in terms of gravitational pull, the lack of, if that planet is completely destroyed. I mean, that is going to affect other planets, you know. Well, I don't know what is the distance, but I'm pretty sure that that is not just going to be completely out of any, you know, any consequences for other planets in that solar system, let's say, or if it's just burnt and it's still there physically, but it just burned, that will be okay, I guess, for other planets. I'm just thinking about too many details here.
There's only so many worlds that you don't want to destroy all of them. Now, naturally, with the memes aside, there are some people who are a little bit rough on this one. But most Inquisitors generally don't like to do Exterminatus a ton, but it is an option they have. And it's a crazy option when you think about it. Secret Police Inquisition are unfortunately not represented on the tabletop very much.
Okay, just to say, because Maddie just said there's no such thing as innocent, just verifying degrees of guilt, that is just, well, not true at all. Especially depends on the context. Let's say you go to get a sandwich and you're literally, you know, passing by this well, this place on the street where they have sandwiches, and you're like, oh, get me this sandwich, and they're like, fine. So you getting your sandwich and you're eating it, and all of a sudden that guy that killed Uncle Ben from Spider-Man passes by and pushes you, and your sandwich is now on the pavement, and then Spider-Man couldn't catch him because for some reason you slowed this guy down, but then because you slowed him down, further down the line something else happened, and he got to actually, I mean, he was able to actually get away because of what happened, which doesn't make any sense, but you don't know what happened after he he ran you over basically with his body. Something else happened that if he hadn't did that, he would actually not get away. So let's say this hypothetically, and because of that, because of you were getting a sandwich, Peter could not get the guy that killed Uncle Ben. So is it your fault that you wanted to eat the sandwich that day and got into the street and bought the sandwich, and you know, this guy just ran into you? Well, no, because you didn't know that all of those things are happening. You're just going your, you know, by your desire to eat an unhealthy sandwich and go buy it, and then there's a guy named Spider-Man, and it's very important for him to get the guy that killed his uncle, but you don't know him, you don't know his uncle, and you don't know that this is gonna happen. So, are you guilty in that moment? No, you are guilty of eating a sandwich because this is not the best option. Oh my gosh, you know what I mean. But you're definitely innocent in the terms of the fact that Spider-Man could not catch. Okay,
You
continue.
generally kind of put one in your army if you feel like it. You have a couple special options there and some side content, but they're not really fleshed out very well, and personally they need a lot
mind
more
me.
stuff put in there, and they really need a lot more effort put into them. They're not quite where I want them to be. Overall, the Inquisition makes for a lot of the best storytelling as well, because it's a little bit hard to talk about a big story of a whole bunch of Space Marines killing something. Right? It's just a big battle story. It's not as interesting. Having that intrigue and that moral dilemma that an Inquisitor...
Yeah, that's what I thought. Ber Grage. Sorry if I butchered that. That's what I thought, that if they don't actually destroy the cosmic body, that's probably gonna be better for, you know, for whoever whoever else. Jesus Christ, is late. For other planets that might be in enough close proximity that they could be affected.
Has makes for a lot better media. And honestly, the more people do it, I think it's better, because then it adds a little more humanity to the Warhammer horrible, horrible grim darkness. And wow, we just finished the humans. All right, come back for part 2.
Oh, that is it, guys, for part 1, me revisiting this, and I provide a lot more commentary at the beginning, but I don't want this to be super long, and it is. I've been here for 1 hour and 20 minutes at least. I think that the original reaction 1 year ago was right about that length too. Oh, 1 hour and 30 minutes. So yeah, I don't want to be longer than this, and I have to attend to my fluffy muffin here, to Goldie. But guys, this was very interesting for me because, like I said, I did saw and understood a lot more now that I have 1 year of knowledge and experience from Warhammer. If this video does well, I may do revisiting of part 2. It's going to be, for me at least, very interesting once again. But in any case, guys, the last things that he covered said I don't have anything to add that much, so that's why also I didn't comment. If there's anything that I really want to say, I will say it. But I agree with what he said. About the custodes, the Grey Knights, the Sisters of Battle. They're just awesome, and those like little facts about them are great. Also, the other sisters as well. They're not enough info about them. I mean, in terms of they're not as emphasized as the custodes, but this dynamic between them and the custodes is very interesting because the custodes kick ass, but they're not. They're not psychers, whereas the sisters come here to fight such threats. So it's just great how they complete each other. Just awesome, guys. And all the rest things about the Inquisition, and the latest episode of Hammer and Bolter is about an Inquisitor that is pretty full of himself. So that is just fresher on my memory right now. And he's not the best representation of the Inquisition. I mean, he's not how everybody are, but they're definitely pompous asses for the most part. Maybe not Eisenhorn, but I'm yet to get to that novel and read that. So we'll see when I get to Eisenhorn, guys. I made a promise to you and to myself that before that show exists, the Amazon show about Eisenhorn, the first live-action Warhammer show, I will get through that novel. So there's that. With that being said, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope that you had fun. Comment on what we commented at the beginning. Like I've said, I expect for you to tell me the 3 most depressing universes besides Warhammer, so we can have like a top 3 and then I can go into them. Thank you, Matty. That's absolutely amazing. I didn't expect that. Oh my gosh. Thank you, my Primarch, for this amazing support. So you can also become my Primarchs if you wish and support the channel this way if you become a member of the channel. But thank you very much, Matty. So yeah, guys, I think that's gonna be a very interesting video if we compare Warhammer to other dark universes, because I personally, before I got to Warhammer, I was not a fan of dark universes in general. I just knew Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Trek, other things, and Warhammer was the first that just fascinated me the most. So if there's anything else, I'm not really familiar with all of that, and I do want to be, so we can make this video in comparison. But I'm not sure how anything can surpass Warhammer in terms of darkness, grim darkness of the 41st millennia. Yeah, there's only war. So I don't think anything can surpass that. But if you do have suggestions, oh yeah, also Dune. I don't think Dune is as dark as this though. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments so I can have them. Hopefully YouTube doesn't hide them for me, because that's something sometimes happened. And I can do a video about the top 3 or top 5 if there's more, and compare. Is gonna be awesome. So thank you guys for watching. Sleep well. Yeah, the Old Republic, it is dark. It is dark. You're right, but you know, overall Star Wars is not as dark, but it's not as bright too. I mean, it's definitely not as dark as 40k. Okay, guys, I really have to go. It's very late, but Matty, thank you for the support. I super appreciate it. Just amazing. Thank you, Patrick. Have a great night, dear Clayton, Ivy, Dark. Just Ed, everyone, guys, thank you for being here with me. And as I said, as always, also you can check out my OnlyFans, which I'm going to expand with ASMR content, personalize the ASMR event, a lot of other things, and you get the best bang for your buck because there's a ton of content that is there. It's just, yeah, a lot. So thank you guys. Till next time, me get reviews. Bye bye.